Pula Vinaka and welcome to this episode of Nation's Business. On the show tonight, we will take you to Ogea Island in the Lau Group, where villagers have come face to face with the effects of climate change. The inundation of seawater, largely due to sea level rise. Later on the show, we will have a look at a coral restoration initiative and why it is vital not only to marine life, but also to coastal and maritime communities. All too familiar images of a climate in crisis. Impacts of climate change are making headline reports all the time, from devastating floods in Pakistan last year to breaking 40 degrees temperatures in Britain. Here at home, cyclones with higher intensity are becoming more frequent, causing damages and floods as witnessed in recent times. Coastal communities are not spared with sea level rise, forcing relocation to higher and safer grounds. In this first segment, we take you to Ogea in the Lau Group, where villagers are experiencing what they say is the effects of climate change. Villages on Ogea have in recent years seen a progressive increase in seawater inundation. This has been attributed to different factors such as storm surge, high tide, persistent onshore winds and waves, plus at times heavy downpour. As the Lali beat signals the beginning of the Sunday church service, villagers here congregate for a ritual that has ushered in blessings for years and generations. If anything, there's hope for divine intervention and a comprehensive approach necessary to mitigate seawater inundation in this village.
Sometimes when it's high tide, it's really high tide in the village, the whole village gets, 3/4 of the village green grass here is mostly covered with water. And every morning students have to make their way from the village to the school, and they have to cross these cold waters and coming into school. Another challenge that we have been observing that students are frequently absent. Some of them don't intend to turn up to school because of maybe the cold water that they are about to cross. This has been a challenge for us as well, because we know our students, some of them are very capable students. Some, they have potential to do better, but because of these challenges that they are facing in terms of high tides, these are some of the things that it can affect. It affects their attendance as well to school.
Students on Ogea are forced to cross through ankle-deep water every morning in order to get to school. According to teachers, some of the difficulties faced as direct result include disruption in classes and health risks. Exposure to flood water with sewer can be extremely hazardous, as this water may contain harmful bacteria that can cause a variety of illnesses, including skin infection.
It's a high risk. It's a high risk. It's a health hazard, and crossing these waters with flooded sewage, septic tanks, some of the faces and waste from these septic tanks that has been flooded gets gets flooded into the ground, and that's the place where the students are crossing and getting to school. And this creates a lot of hazard in terms of skin diseases, and also the bad smell that is coming from the water.
Teachers here are implementing strategies to inspire and motivate students to attend classes despite the challenge they face on the ground. Don Rolangi believes building a positive and supporting environment at Matua Tambu Primary School in the face of this climate-related problem is important.
My message to the teachers every day is to encourage students, just to inspire them, and also to make them keep on going, even though they are facing a lot of challenges. And this is one of the challenges that they are facing out here in the village. And we feel pity because as nature has shown itself, I think we, the students and the teachers, I think it's a great challenge for us, also for the students, just to encourage and inspire them to come to school and help them out.
For the people of Ogea, climate change is real, and it is critical that action is taken to mitigate and adapt to changes that are already happening.
If you could help us in just any sort of help, just to fix this problem that we are facing, and also to minimize the risk that we are facing. Even if to minimize, but actually to eliminate this challenge that we are facing. The challenge that we are facing is real. The climate change here we are facing is real. And we really need some sort of help to help us, and also the community, to get this, to get some sort of help or assistance in terms of finance or anything, just to solve the problem that we are facing in Ogea.
The provincial administrator for the province of Lau visited Ogea to discuss with village elders the pressing climate-related issue they currently face on the ground.
There are certain key factors that I think the government, with the whole of government and the provincial council and the Vanua, and one of them is this climate change that is affecting the whole of Laue. Looking at the geographical status of the island, we are one of those that are badly affected within the climate change. We can experience, as we are here in Ogea, it's been for some times now that the government need immediate intervention and our support from our partners to address some of the key challenges that we have, and one of them, as we can experience, is climate change.
government teams that have visited Ogea in the past have submitted their findings and recommendations accordingly. The visit by the provincial administrator is to provide feedbacks and response to elders here on the island.
The sharing with our Turangan Ikor and the Matanianian is shared with us today. There were several government ministries and departments who have visited the island, and they have submitted their request or proposal to those that visited the government. And one of the things that we are trying to follow up during our visit today.
As the effects of climate change continue to be felt in the world today, many areas are becoming increasingly vulnerable to natural disasters and environmental degradation. Here in Fiji, relocation for entire communities to safer grounds to protect lives and livelihoods have been carried out in the past. However, relocation can be a complex and challenging process, and it can have significant social, economic, and cultural impacts on affected communities. Elders on Ogea of the view that it is equally important that any relocation efforts are done in a way that is respectful of the affected communities' rights and interests and involves their active participation in the decision-making process.
Past government commitment from the Honorable Prime Minister who visited the island, I think one of the key address or the key way forward is to relocate for those that will be building in the next years to come, is to relocate.
Climate change relocation is a complex issue that requires careful consideration and planning. It is important that a holistic approach is taken in addressing the impacts of climate change and work to create a sustainable future for all.
Yeah, relocation is one of the challenges that we face throughout our entire country. There are certain elements that lies behind those that are planning for relocation. As for now, we are trying our very best to urge them in their village development plan, if that can be factored in, so to address these climate change issues that we are facing for the entire Laos province.
harbor the highest biodiversity of any ecosystem globally and directly support millions of people worldwide. They are the most threatened ecosystems on Earth, largely due to unprecedented global warming and climate changes combined with growing local pressures. Here in Fiji, coral reefs play a vital role in the security and well-being of local communities. They provide not only a habitat for a wide variety of marine life, but also serve as a vital source of food and income for coastal and maritime communities. Fiji is home to some of the most colorful coral reefs and diverse marine life in the world. However, the Pacific region is regularly affected by temperature variability, storm surges, changes in rainfall patterns, sea level rise, and coral bleaching, all of which threaten biodiversity and ecosystems. Conservation International Fiji is leading coral restoration work in the Lau Group. The coral planting is an ongoing project helping to improve coral cover on the reefs, as well as food security for local communities who rely on their reefs for sustenance.
We are tasked to carry out two tasks, which is a nursery establishment for I believe 3 islands in Lau, and also direct planting of coral fragments. This in regards to the pledge made by the Bosibon Lau, the Chiefly Forum. They pledged to plant 200,000 corals by the end of this year, 2023. And part of this trip, we're doing a coral planting program throughout the 11 islands, starting from Moala, Matatoa, Matuku, and then up to Ono, Watoa, Kambara, and now in Mode. We established a coral nursery in Matuku, which housed almost 1,500 corals, and we did coral direct planting, and today as we speak, I believe we planted almost 7,000 coral fragments during this trip.
Coral bleaching is a phenomenon that occurs when coral reefs lose their vibrant color and turn white due to stress, typically from unusually warm water temperatures. This can have significant impacts on the health and biodiversity of coral reefs, as well as the communities that rely on them.
Unfortunately, for this trip, there is massive coral bleaching in the southern part of Laos. So when we did our dive in Moala, corals are in a very good shape in Totoya, and we came down to Matuku. We started to see coral bleaching, and then far south, Watoa and Ono, is massive coral bleaching there. It is believed to be caused by the volcanic eruption in Tonga early last year, which releases hot air into the oceans, which somehow reaches the Fiji waters. It is believed to be the cause of massive coral bleaching. The sea temperature was a bit warmer in the Pacific, so that might be also a reason for the massive coral bleaching in the southern part of Laos. So we here in Mode, we still we still see some, we still witness some coral bleaching in Mole, in Kambara, massive ones in Ogea and Onilau.
Coral reefs are an important source of food for communities, particularly in developing countries. This loss of coral reefs can impact food security, especially for those who rely on fishing as a primary source of protein. The coral restoration or planting process is a delicate one and one that needs attention to detail.
First, we snip the fragments from the wild. Unfortunately, the nursery is not yet fully grown, so we had to snip corals from the wild, and then we mix plaster, the tile glue, and the cement together before adding in sand. So once they are mixed, insert the corals or just attach the corals to the mixture, and then we placed it on the restoration proposed restoration site, which is the reefs. We just look at the super corals. These are the corals that withstand those extreme events.
Coral restoration is fairly new in the Lao group, and according to Conservation International, local communities have rendered their support to the restoration work.
Here in Lao, this is sort of a new initiative to them, doing coral planting, and I was telling some of the locals about the coral bleaching that is currently facing the southern part of Lao. So yeah, they came forward to help some of the villages. They are willing to do coral planting because of the massive coral bleaching out there in Ngolingoli.
And that was Nation's Business for this week. Remember, you can view tonight's show on Fiji government's YouTube page. Be sure to join us again next week. Till then, stay safe and Modemada.